Welcome to Tales from the Flipside, bringing you a Star Wars discussion roundtable featuring Revan, but I'll let Tony explain more in just a second. All right, I'm going to pass off the torch, the driver's seat to Tony. So
What's
take it
going
away.
on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Solo, Aaron, good to see you. How are you guys doing today?
Okay, I'm doing well. I just got back from a card show, so
Okay.
I'll tell y'all more about that on Wednesday. I don't want to take up too much time here about that, so because I know we're all here to talk about Star Wars. I'm excited to learn a lot about this. I know a little bit about Revan, not as much as these two, so but I'm here to learn.
But we'll look forward to
You
your
might
pickups.
you might know more than me. My Revan is I have very my Revan is not as good as it should be. I will admit it 100%.
Well, that it just reminds me of kind of why we're here in the first place. So, Revan is a really big topic. He's a really big character. Even people who have never read a Revan book know who he is or have seen his action figures or whatever. There have been CBR stories on him that he's coming, this great villain. What are we doing here today? We're not going to hash out his whole biography. If you want that, go jump on Wikipedia and sit down with a coffee and read for about 3 hours because that's how long that bio is. We're also not here to argue about which Revan book is the most important. I know everybody's got an opinion on that. I've seen, I know there was a roundtable, it was a couple of years ago now, that where they were talking about, I think it was on Tales from the Flipside, where everybody was talking about what Revan books should be more valuable or which ones should not. That's not really the goal today. We're going to talk about Revan books. But why are we here? We are Tales from the Flipside, Modern Playbook. We are comic speculation. We know about Revan. We are kind of working under the assumption that Revan is coming. We don't know when. We don't know where, if it'll be a movie or trilogy or Disney Plus series. We don't know how that's going to happen or exactly what's going to lead up to it. But it's safe to say that he is coming. So when he comes, we want to dig into what other books are going to be important. There are many other characters of the story. He's got many eras, many sections of his story, and we're barely just going to scratch the surface today. It's impossible, and you know what? We might have stuff that we are wrong about, and if so, please let us know. If you are watching live, if you are watching later on, please comment with your own information. Other characters that we didn't mention. We really do hope to follow this up with more of these to dig further into his different sections of his life. But yeah, I just want to give that as a caveat. It's not going to be a 5-hour roundtable where we dig into his whole bio. We're going to look for other comic books to keep an eye out for when we're telling his story. But I don't know. I don't want to dig too much into it because I know, like we said, we could talk for hours on it. But Solo, what do you think? How can they get to a Revan story? What is your prediction? Get your crystal ball out.
Oh, geez. Man, there's a lot of ways that they could go into it. I think there's a lot of ways to. I'm not a big speculator. I'll never tell you, hey, go buy this book because this is the one that's going to make you $1 million. Because 10 out of 10 times I'll be wrong. I tell you what, I will tell you, go buy them all. Go buy every one of them, but try and look for the deal. Try and find the deal. Match the price. See what you're seeing them go for on eBay. And get on Whatnot and watch, keep a list. Write down a notepad, hey, here's some books I'm looking for about Revan or I'm looking for about whoever. Write that list down. Go sit on Whatnot. Go hunt. Go do some long box digging in your LCSs. Go, search eBay and watch, and find what you're looking for and buy them all if you can. It may take you a while. Some of the big books that have the most content or the most bang for your buck are not cheap. I won't lie to you. They're getting up there. But buying now versus trying to buy in a couple of years when all of this starts hashing out is buy now. Find a way to buy them now, because you will be out of the price point in a couple of years, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I am divorced. I've been wrong before. But with that said,
I think the best, like you were saying, I think the best connection to make is what's happening with Dr. Aphra and Black Chrysanthemum. Sorry, I was say that wrong. His books really didn't. His first appearance in that Darth Vader one really didn't start to explode until he showed up. Right. You didn't have to wait for him to show up. If you've read the books, you know how important he is to that story. His first appearance has been sitting there for a long time, very reasonable price. So that's kind of what we want to try to do today, is give you some books in your Star Wars repertoire and your little list that and
that's a perfect caveat to exactly the game you're playing as a future predictor, a speculator, a guesser. You're trying to guess what the board at Disney is going to do. When and how are they going to tie this together? How are they going to make all this relevant? Now, they could just start with a one-off, bring it in, and be like, here you go. But there's a couple of things that we've seen today that are bringing up questions in my mind for me as to the play that they move towards. One, we know that Dark Horse got sold. Dark Horse got the rights back for Star Wars books, at least one of them. And Marvel's going to do one of the other ones. So now you're looking at Dark Horse getting the title for Star Wars back, and then Dark Horse got sold to a game company. And right before that precursor, Disney had announced that they were contemplating or in the works or doing something moving towards another game, Knights of the Republic game. And that's the mainstay of Revan. That's the main guts of Revan, in my opinion, is that that's where he comes from. That's where his origin started. That's when he got brought into the EU. And of course, what legend now? Would you call it legend? I guess, because it's not really canon yet.
Yeah, not yet. But it seems like almost all that they're bringing back. So
it seems like predominantly they're starting to pick little pieces of it and bring it back, and that's how we ended up with Mando and a lot of the other stuff. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. All I was going to say is that, even though they say Dark Horse is not canon, but they keep on picking from it, like,
right.
So how is it not canon then? Like, if that's going to be the source material, and then to add on to like what you're saying, sometimes like what you'll see pictures of Disney executives sitting in like a boardroom meeting, and then they have source material on the walls. So pay attention to that too, because like if you see that cover like as source material of like either drawing from images from that or actually using like story arcs from that, it kind of gives you like those like pieces of cornbread that like, hey, this is what's coming up, this is the important book to have.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think the most important part of a picture at LucasArts is what's in the background, especially when they're in the boardroom. Like that, the most important information in those photographs that get leaked out is what's on the background, that's stuck on the wall or written out on the wall or on the whiteboard in the
or on the table,
dry erase marker, or the little clip of something on the table.
Yeah, and we're not going to guess correctly on how it works. I mean, I have a guess. I think follow the money. There's so much content with Revan. It makes the most sense for Disney to stretch that out as far as they can to maximize on that. I mean, Harry Potter got 9 movies or 8 movies.
Yeah.
There's enough content there to do it. So have a movie or a series build up, introduce the Old Republic, and then start peppering in some of those characters. Have a big reveal casting, and start at the beginning, man. I think it's who knows.
Well,
we could hear in a month, we could hear in 3 years, but we know we're going to hear.
Well,
it's not a matter of when or if, it's a matter of when.
Right.
Well, do you think they would fast forward it a little bit, making the assumption that most people that are interested in this have already played Knights of the Old Republic, and then they would kind of just like, I don't want to say fast forward it, but like, kind of leave you off from that endpoint to, something newer, I guess.
You could time jump. I mean, Star Wars obviously is time jump before, backwards and forwards.
Well, it's like they're doing Book of Boba now, and then they're going to go back and tell Obi-Wan. They're time jumping right there, back and forth, and kind of confusing that whole timeline.
Right. They're just mining for the best stuff, and they're letting the creators, choose what they want to work with and how they want to work with it. So hopefully for Revan's story, there is a showrunner, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
I like my air quotes, by the way. Somebody who's in charge of the whole, or maybe all of the Old Republic, kind of the way Filoni is kind of in charge of the whole Clone Wars cast. But hey, let's.
I could see real quick. Let me just say, this is how I could see one possible way out of the millions of ways, much like yours, because they're so heavy right now into Mandalorian and Boba and doing those things, and that's the beginning of their stretch. And I agree with you 100%. They're going to take that and they're going to stretch that and play that out as much as possible. They've piqued the audience's curiosity towards Mandalorians a lot. And so a lot more people are curious about Mandalorian lore, where they're from, how it got started. And that is a great starting point for Revan, because you can now go back and start talking about the Mandalorian Wars and the big giant civil war on, what is it, Malak 5? Man. Is that right? Yeah, I think it was Malak 5. And they have the big war, and that, I mean, right there, you've got all your main characters. That's how you start it. And you start, and as part of the Mandalorian story, part of the Revan story, you get, there's your start. And you already have the interest because of Mandalorian, Book of Boba, et cetera, et cetera. So I could really see him doing something like that with a long TV series. Clone Wars was what, seven seasons. Right. So
yeah, they're definitely intertwined. I mean, there's, and we actually have a section on that a little later too, some of the Mandalorian stuff, but hey, okay, let's Aaron, if you could skip to the next, let's again, I don't want to make this a 3-hour thing, so I'm going to try to edit myself as much as possible. And I threw this together. It is not comprehensive at all. But again, Revan is just a very complicated story. I think you could break it. If we'll talk about it in 4 sections. You have, at first he was a Jedi, and he came up with Malak as a young Jedi. And then there was a point where they switched to become a Sith. Then they became Darth Revan and Darth Malak. And then there was another section where I think it was forced mind control, but his mind was wiped and he was brought back to become a Jedi again. After that period, I want to say he was kind of separated from the, I don't know. I'm honestly a little blurry about it after that. At one point he died, and then a generation later, his spirit came back, and there was a whole religion kind of based on him, the Revanites. his spirit came back, and then the Jedi and Sith had to work together to take him down yet again. And again, I'm kind of butchering that, but I just bring it up because
that's good. That was a very quick, a brief, abbreviated, that was good. I thought it was solid.
Well, I bring it up just because we're not looking at all of those sections right now. My own experience is more so with the MMO, the Star Wars: The Old Republic video game, and that dealt with Revan's the very last part. So actually, quite a few of the characters that we talk about today have to do with that last section of his life. Some from the beginning, but there's a lot of sections in between. Again, if you are watching this and if there's some characters that are part of his story that you want us to talk about, put those in the comments, put those in the live chat. That way I will take notes and we'll dig into those characters, see where those pieces fit in the puzzle, and maybe find some books for those as well. The second bullet here, I'm not aware of any cover appearances. Are either of you aware of any cover appearances for Revan? I don't believe so.
I think there is one on an Insider magazine, and we'll touch as we go through a little bit on that. I think we're going to focus more on the comic books.
Yep.
But we'll definitely tell you, look, you're going to kind of have to reference magazine Insider. I don't collect a lot of the Star Wars Insiders because they are a magazine. If I collect one, I'm a Star Wars hoarder. I have to collect them all. Once in a while, I buy an Insider because it's got a Darth Maul on it. I'm a collect them all Darth Maul and Dathomir kind of guy. So I don't think there's a single comic with Revan. I think there is one Insider with him on it.
Okay. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I wanted to touch on that too. We are focusing on the comics today. I know comic collectors still chase after those other publications, even the Lego Manias and the Star Wars Insiders and whatever else is out there, and absolutely valid. But I know the comic purists do like to keep comics as in this is the first comic appearance. Mm-hmm. This is the first comic cameo, that kind of thing. So we're going to focus on the comics tonight. Maybe we can have a whole, if we can get an insider expert to, I know Topher is just amazing at that stuff. Ben at CBSI is amazing at that. Maybe we can pick out some of those other property, other things outside the comics.
Yeah. If you guys can hit that up on CBSI and go look at Topher's list on the Star Wars books and first appearances and cameos and stuff. It's incredible work. He did a good job on that.
Well, I think that was mainly Ben C.
Yeah.
Who did that list?
Ben and Topher. And Mike Morello.
Yeah. I mean, anytime I hunt Star Wars books and I'm unsure of a first appearance, I reference that list.
Yeah.
I don't care about Key Collector being like an easy app to use or whatever. I have that website, that webpage bookmarked in my Google, and so like anytime I'm hunting Star Wars books, I'm using that. To be honest, in my area, a lot of Dark Horse books are already picked clean. Like either a store has a whole bunch or they have like maybe 10 books.
Right. And so they're bent in half at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that long box is, a third full, so they fall back and forth, right?
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
if there's any Star Wars books left at all.
That list that they're referencing, definitely. If you're not aware of it, go to CBSI and check it out. Mad props to Ben for putting that together. Topher is also amazing. I'm sure he had some help with it, but I know he's great at picking out those true firsts.
Mike Morello is another outstanding name in the field.
There's a lot of Star Wars experts out there, and
absolutely,
the three of us feel like we are not, but we're happy to start this conversation, and I think it is a conversation. Anything to do with where you can find certain characters or what, it is a conversation. It's hard to find something set in stone. So What else were we going to say? Well, just that one of the difficulties of Revan is so much of the story is in game form. So if you didn't play those games out to their full extent, if you just read the novels or read the comics, you're not getting the whole picture. So it is hard to piece that together. And then just that there are newsstand variants. Most of these are going to be showing up in Dark Horse books. So there are newsstand variants for almost all of these. The only question I had, I put the 0 because that was a promotional comic. I wasn't sure if that had a new Z.
Well, and then if you're looking to play the game, if you have an Apple product, I believe there's a iPad version that you can just download and play, like where it's like a playthrough, like
Don't
where
tell
you.
me that. You can't tell me that, dude. I just got done telling you before the show. I can't play these games because I will not do anything else. I have a very addictive personality, and I have to say no. And now you're telling me it's on my phone?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think it even allows you to save, so like you don't have to like just sit there and like continuously go, right?
Yes, I do.
Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of us do, but like, yeah. So, I was just mentioning because I see Tomb Toys in the chat saying that he didn't play the video game either, and I know my brother was someone that told me about it because he had, like, we each have iPads, and he's like the game's on there, like if you ever want to play it there. And I was like, kind of like, I'm like, I think I'm good because, you know, like I'll see him start the game and then I won't see him for like a week. So
exactly, yeah. It's like, no, I do have chores and life things that I have to get done. Like it's not I have to get, and I'm that person. I'll be like, I'll do that. It's hard to tomorrow, game.
It's hard to do the adulting things and have time to play video games, but a lot of people do. And that the MMO, the Star Wars: The Old Republic, is still live. It's free to play. There's a premium free. It's a freemium version. He's not the focus of the game, but he is one of the major story arcs later on. So if you want to get that content, you can still do that as well.
Sticks boy, crack or death sticks? Okay, I had to make a Star Wars joke, right? All right,
a little bit of both. All right. They're death sticks with crack inside there. Just hand me a controller and some Star Wars. That's it. Chad,
this is nothing new to anybody who's into comics, but you know, I've come to learn that a lot of our viewers have just gotten into comics in the last few years, and they really want more information. So one of the big things to look at if you're speculating on Star Wars books, especially Dark Horse Star Wars books, is these two differences: the direct version, which is the one on the left, and the newsstand version, the one on the right. Most of these Dark Horse books, the newsstand versions were available until, I've heard with Dark Horse, it went up to like 2013, sometime between 2011 and 2013. The closer you get to that cutoff of newsstands, the rarer they become. So a newsstand variant of a 1995 Dark Horse book is probably a little more common than, you know, one of the later Dark Horse books in 2010.
And one thing to note on this, when you're looking at a newsstand, especially a Dark Horse newsstand, judge, grade accordingly. These books are predominantly way less printed, way harder to find, and way less high condition. You're not going to find, if you find a lot of 9.8 Dark Horses, they're probably forgeries because they're just not out there. If you find a Dark Horse newsstand with a lot of spine ticks, don't let that scare you away. That's still an incredibly valuable book on the factor that they're not easy to find. It's kind of Dark Horse newsstand for Star Wars, in my eyes, is a lot like collecting foreign. The condition is a totally different market, don't look at it like you're chasing 9/8 all day, because you're gonna make yourself real sad real quick.
Yeah.
Be happy when you find those with 5, 6 spine ticks on them. Be like, wow, look at this gem I found. This is incredible.
Yeah. And that price premium, it does exist with certain books, but not all of them yet. It does with like Clone Wars 1 and the Thrawn book. But there's a lot of books where that gap is in price is much smaller right now. Which again, for those later Dark Horse Star Wars newsstands, it's definitely something to look out for. So I just wanted to put this up here because as you're looking for Dark Horse books, this corner box is very important.
Oh, and also if you are hunting Star Wars Dark Horse books, they also have the version of the newsstands where it's a sticker over the direct. So don't let that deter you away from buying that either. Because
great point.
Yeah, so I mean that's a little, tips and tricks of collecting and digging, right?
I always forget, just tell people that all the time. That's awesome. I'm glad you said that because I totally forget every time that they did that sticker for so long.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's towards the end of their run too, isn't it? That they were doing that.
Yeah, they did it for what, 3-5 years, 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there. But the sticker, when the first time I saw one, I was like, they're jacking with me. They easy sale because they know I'm a sucker for the Dark Horse newsstand. They stickered it and then did a little digging, and it was like, oh, that's legit. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do think until CGC consistently labels them separately, I know they've started to on certain titles. But
if there's a price difference.
Right, and until they're labeled clearly by the grading companies, there's going to be some gray area, I think. But
and
another thing to consider is that there also are some Canadian price variant, and newsstand Canadian price variants.
Well, and that's why I don't mind grading with a CBCS, because they actually notate that if it's a newsstand edition. I mean, it doesn't say the year percentages, right? But you can still see, like, in their census, like, I guess, like, after their first year of really getting on people's radars, then they started notating, like, hey, this is one of the differences that we do.
Yeah, it's
Brian's screaming right now about the script that they use on the label for CBCS.
Oh, the text.
I can hear him.
Yeah,
50 miles away, I can hear him.
Well, they do hear him. Yeah.
If you could flip to the next one, please. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So, Revan, now I want to give credit to, and I'm sorry, I don't recall who was running the show, but they actually did a deep dive with the writer of this run from Knights of the Old Republic, and he's the one who kind of revealed that, hey, what you all are chasing as his first appearance, that wasn't the first time he showed up on comics. Of course, writers don't, a cameo versus first appearance and first full. I don't want to get into that, but it does matter, but the writer doesn't distinguish between that. But this comic here, Knights of the Old Republic, number 0, this is a flip book. So if you flip it over, there's another cover on the rear. I want to say either this was a promotional or it was really, really cheap. I don't recall which. But there is one panel, and you can see the panel, and from far away, you get a little tiny image of Revan. This is the first time he shows up in any comic. And it's a cheap book right now. I'm not saying it, again, I'm not saying that all of these are going to go up extremely in value. Just throwing it out there.
What was it? The panel that they had John Gallagher on the show? Because he was,
and it was with Pete Renna and Mike Morello, and I'm sorry, I'm brain farting on the other guy's name. He's a dude from CBSI, and they did interviews and played.
The 3-card money thing.
3-card money, that's what it was. And they had him on there, and he revealed that he actually very much was a designer and a creator of the character of Revan, and dropped that, hey, no, we created him, literally sat down at a table and created him in number 0. This is it. And you can watch him say it live on there. And that was a great interview, great game. I missed that show a lot. That was a fun show.
Yeah, because I want to say Gallagher had returned also to the flagship show, like when they were, I think it was one of the Ha Ha books or something like that, that they were revealing the cover, and then they touched on the subject there as well.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, cameo first appearance. Not our argument. We're not going to have it. I'm one of those people. I don't really care. I do, but I don't.
That's why I kind of wanted to show some of the images so you can judge for yourself. It's very obscure. It's very far away. There's no lines, but it's the first time Revan shows up in a comic, and if that's what you want, this is the book you should look for.
If that's what an artist tell you, and the guy who created it,
right?
That's a lot of proof in that pudding.
That's some money to bet on, right? On that Tony.
That's a hedge bet right there.
And with speculation, there are certain characters, not just within Star Wars, but within Marvel and DC, where there's one book. There's one book people chase for the first appearance of Sabretooth or whatever it is. There are other characters that you do have to chase about 3, 4, 5. I mean, Riri, you're not just buying one book.
No.
Kamala Khan, you are not just buying one book. And I think Revan fits in that category. If you want to hedge your bet, you can pick up multiple books. He's going to have multiple keys.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're collecting the character anyways, too. Like, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
I mean, if you're a big fan of the book anyways, collect them all.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
All right. What do we got next, Aaron? All right. So Star Wars Tales, number 23. For all the Star Wars Tales books, they did 2 covers. One was usually an illustrated cover. One was some sort of photo variant. Star Wars Tales, there are multiple short stories in each issue, 4 or 5. There's a ton of first appearances in them. Some of them never go beyond that issue, but there are a lot of first appearances in these Star Wars Tales books. And here, actually, Solo, you what do we got in this one?
So there's like 3 big giant Star Wars Tales books for Revan, 21, 23, and 24, in my opinion. And in my opinion, 23 is the big one. You get 3 of the major people in Revan's story, including Revan, in this book. And you get Malak, you get Revan, and you get his wife, Bastilla Shan. Now, she's not really a figure. I'm going to steal some air quotes from Tony right there. She's not really a figure in the book. She's unnamed, and she's in a vision that he has. But it's clear who she is. And then later on, you find out that she becomes her wife. But she's the Jedi, and she's doing things and stuff. And that's where, he has a memory / vision. And so my clear-cut winner that I look for if I'm going first appearances, I like this book a lot because you have the 3.
Right. And from what I understand, and I'm going to say that a lot too, this is the first image we have of him as Darth Revan.
Right.
In this book. And a lot of these, this one is already popped. If you jump on eBay, this is listed as the Revan key. They all say first appearance. There's like 4 different books that say first appearance. So you can't go by that, but it is one of his keys that's already on people's radar. This book is not cheap. Almost $100 raw, over a $300 book in 9.8. There are those newsstands out there. Keep your eyes open. But yeah, there's again this. You can see the image where he shows up. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
We got that one coming up.
Yeah, it's when he first puts his mask on, and it's a solid bet. I mean, it's a good book. It's a good read. All the Star Wars tales are really good stories, in my opinion. I like them all. Some of them are pretty far out there, but I really enjoy all of the Star Wars tales.
Yeah.
I've had to read quite a few of them digitally because trying to buy them and find them is brutal.
Yeah. True. All right, Aaron, you want to flip to the next? All right. So after that Zero appearance, he does have another cameo. Again, it's one image. It's the back of him. Doesn't have any words, but take it for what it is. It's not necessarily a big key, but he's there. And this is the cover where you can find it. It's also the first appearance of Roland Dyer. Hasn't really moved very much. Don't expect it to, maybe.
I could see it moving more once we start seeing appearances and we start seeing some sort of a series or a movie or something of that. Or if the right video game hit and it really, really blew up and everyone got involved, if you had a Halo night version of Knights of the Republic where it just blew up and everyone was like, this is my Halo, this is my Fortnite, whatever, and really blew up, I could see it gaining off of that as well. But I think that definitely once you have a show, this is going to pick up a little.
There are certain characters that after they hit a certain level of fame, then we start chasing, here's my air quotes again, early appearances.
Yeah.
So not a first cover, but an early appearance.
Well, and it's the Spider-Man black suit. You can argue all day long. Just go buy a Marvel Age 12, a Team Up 141, 141, and a 252, and then a Secret Wars 8, and be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I have all of them.
Don't forget Spectacular Spider-Man 90.
Yeah, see, there you go, and add that one in there too. Now you got them all. That's the way it works.
Yeah, it's not an either or.
What was I going to say about this? There's, this kind of reminds me of like Captain Marvel 17, right? Where you get like from the behind the scene, like like where it's just a part of the, like, I mean, because you obviously find out later from continued reading on the story, right? That it's this character.
Yeah.
Is
that Apocalypse on the TV right there? No, I'm joking. I'm talking about
It's Darkseid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Darkseid. That's it. It's Darkseid.
All right, what's next? I kind of want to get past the Revan stuff, and the more interesting stuff is to talk about his other books. So I don't think there's much to say about this one. This is viewed as his first appearance, his first major appearance, just because he's in multiple frames. He's got dialogue. You still don't see his face or him holding a lightsaber, but it's a more significant appearance than the earlier ones. I think it has a lot to do with the cover. It's a cool cover. But this value-wise, dollar-wise, this is his most valuable book right now. In Knights of the Republic, number 9. And there's a lot of people who don't think this should be the most valuable book. I mentioned Ben because he really hates this book, but
a lot of the big collectors do hate this book for a lot of reasons, and this is the one that exploded already. This is the big one. I mean, out of all of them, this is really the one that people decided to go after, and I guess I'm not entirely sure why. I know at one point it did get called his first, and everyone thought it was confirmed or whatever. But again, we're in the Star Wars universe. There's it. Welcome to the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, we're not
it's
we're
too
not
hard
going to
to
win
tell.
any cameo first appearance arguments here. I think it has to do with the dialogue. You know, he's on more than one page. He's got dialogue, so I think that's it. This book is kind of fluctuated between like 900 and 1500 in 9.8. So pretty much a big boy book. But
It is.
again, we're looking at these because when Revan gets a show, I mean, there's a lot of people who think he could be on par with Vader as in terms of epic character villains. You know, that's big shoes to fill, but that's why we speculate, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an interesting race between Revan and Afra, right? Because they're right around, like their A covers are right around that same price point.
Yeah.
Which one's going to like take off first? I guess I should say.
I would bet Afra does, just because I feel like her show's a lot closer. But
yeah, more than likely. I mean, especially with the Black Chrysanthemum stuff.
Yeah, seeing that drop definitely brought that a lot closer to everyone's forefront. Everyone's like, okay, that means he's coming. We're gonna see her.
Yep.
All right, what do we got next, Aaron? Another little cameo. He showed up in Knights of the Old Republic 15. Early appearance, again, nothing big here. Cheaper book. I think all of these Knights of the Old Republic have kind of risen in price, even if there's nothing important in them. They're probably all, between $5 and $10 books.
Yeah, I think they're pretty comparable to the Volume 1 Star Wars, and almost all of those are the same. That 5 to 20 mark, depending on what's on the inside. And you're right, even when there isn't anything, it seems like it's a $10. It's like, man, that's a lot of books at $10 a book to try and chase.
Who's on the background of this cover?
Peoples.
I don't remember. I think I ran across the name while I was looking things up.
Okay.
I want to say it's. Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I'm not going to put my foot in my
Okay.
mouth.
It's just not Revan. Got it.
Right. What do we got next? All right. So this is his other big book. We jump all the way forward to Knights of the Old Republic number 42 in 2009. This is the first time you can see his mask. He's armed and he's named. If for people who don't like number 9, this is they probably lean toward this one. Again, kind of cool cover. Both Revan and Malak are there. And this one is also exploded, I think, in 9.8. It's topped $1,000 now, or right about at that point. So this one and 9 are the big ones right now.
And this one really, for all the arguments of all the other books that we see on the channels, and for those that want to argue it or whatever, this one holds the most. He's named, he's garbed, he's masked. Like, this is the one that really holds all of the standard listings for a first,
right?
Out of all of them. But again, I love that 23 because there's all 3 of them right there. But this is a clear cut. It's a good book, and I love the cover. I won't lie. I'm a little partial to this cover compared to some of the others, so that's another reason I really like this book.
Yeah.
Is he in multiple panels of this book as well? Besides just this panel?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What's up next? All right. So let's get into some of the other characters. And this is already incorrect because, as we just heard from Solo, Bastilla Shan did show up in 23. She just was not named. I used Wikipedia as a reference, and it did not identify 23 that I saw. But Bastilla Shan is the wife of Revan. You could argue she doesn't have a first full yet. These characters that haven't shown up, that haven't really shown up in comics yet, I think it's still good to have them on your radar, so that when you see that previews that's talking about, some story arc, we need to keep our eyes out for some of these characters when they do show up in comics, if they haven't already.
Yeah, and I love this character. I love the all right, you're gonna hate me in the chat, and I can feel it coming through the force. I am a sucker for a good love story. So when you throw at me something like, Dark Apprentice with Asajj Ventress and I just spaced his name, the other Jedi that fall in love, that's a great story. And then here we end up with another one, Bastilla and Revan is another really good love story. And there's some other good love stories that, they go back and forth in the Star Wars universe. And Star Wars normally does a really good job on placating the problematic parts of being Sith and Jedi and falling in love and all of that. Obi-Wan and the Mandalorian gal ruler. Wow. If brain farts had a scent, this room would be uninhabitable tonight.
It's all good.
And a lot of that, yes, Voss, thank you, Quinlan Voss, and Aja Ventress. So we see a lot of that, and I really like this. So when we get a chance to see Bastilla and Revan, I think they can really placate to that. A lot of speculators out there are saying go buy romance, go buy that late gold and silver romance, because that day is coming where that's going to really take off. And I've seen an upspike in sales in those romance. I think what people don't realize is that there are quite a few romance stories in Star Wars. And there you've got your romance spec and your Star Wars spec all tied nice and neat in a bow right there. It's a twofer.
Yeah. And I mean, so many great stories. There's that aspect to it. I mean, it's hard to find an epic story that doesn't have any kind of love interest, in it. If Star Wars is a recreation of some of the old Westerns, of course there's going to be a love interest. So there's no judgment there. Just it should have a good love story in it. Hopefully it's more like the Han Solo Leia love story, and not so much like the Anakin Padme love story.
Yeah.
When it comes to the screen and chemistry and stuff. But obviously, as his wife, this is going to be a pivotal character. So that 23 again as an unnamed cameo, and then keep your eyes open for future books with her down in the road.
Yes, Sticks Boy, you're correct. That it's just that vision in 23 that we were just talking about is her only appearance.
Yep.
And it's unnamed and everything, but you know who she is. And she is in the novels.
Well, do you think these Star Wars love stories interest people because it's more of like the idea that it's like the forbidden love story?
Absolutely. And it's okay, so like Dark Apprentice, I'm going to refer to that a lot because that's one of my all-time ever favorite books. That novel is written really, really well. And even if you're a very surface fan of Star Wars, the way they tell that love story is amazingly well done. It is packed full of adventure and action and them hunting down Dooku And so this story with Bastilla and Revan, and the way that he goes from Jedi to Sith to the changes, and then falls in love with her, and she was a Jedi. There is every bit as much chance of this story being huge. If you filmed this right in a TV series, you'd have every teenage boy and every teenage girl. This would make Twilight look like dirt. The teenage girls would be like, what? Twi'lek? Did you say Twi'lek? There'd be no more glittery vampires.
Why did you have to mention Twilight? Oh my God. We got to start the whole thing over again.
All right, cut.
All right,
let's reshoot.
So Revan and Malak are like peas in a pod. Any part of the story that includes Revan probably includes Malak as well. Revan has a little bit more notoriety, more fame, but Malak is a huge character in this story, and the casting of Malak is going to be just as important as the casting of Revan. If we break down the sections of his life, Malak is there in the first part where he is a Jedi, and Malak is there in the second part where they both become Sith. He's not in the later parts, but he's a super important character. He goes under his own arc. He starts as a character called Squint, then becomes Alec, then becomes Malak, then becomes Darth Malak. But they are definitely tied together. Those stories are tied together pretty tightly.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely the dynamic duo of Star Wars. If you see one, you see the other sooner or later, without a doubt.
Yeah, that image, the image at the top is just, it looks so cool by itself.
It does.
Should be a movie poster. But I think we got a little more info on Malak in the next one here, Aaron. Yeah, so for Darth Malak, we go back to that Knights of the Old Republic 0. He starts the story as Squint, and his first appearance is there. Ben pointed out that in Old Republic 31 is the first time you see him with his head tattoos. And he also is in that 23 that we spoke about before.
So he's the original SoundCloud rapper. Got it.
and I watched a good friend of mine, Mosif, shout out Mosif, get his head tattooed, like on his skull. If you have tattoos on your skull, you are a boss. Like that is, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I have mad respect for anyone with a tattoo on their skull. I know it hurt.
Man, I can only imagine. Like the closest I've ever gotten was like the getting close to the armpit, and that hurts. Like everywhere else is fine, like not a problem. But like as soon as you get close to that armpit, like
yeah, it's a little
like,
tender.
Yeah. So I don't know how people do those like armpit tattoos and like all the way down their rib cage. Like, I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
All right, who's up next, Aaron?
All right.
So through this one in there is like Solo was talking about before, the story of the Mandalorians and the story of Revan are intertwined. At a certain point, Revan leads the Jedi against the Mandalorians and ends up slaying Mandalore the Ultimate. There are many Mandalores, but it's Mandalore the Ultimate that he faces off with and ends up killing. And that Mandalore has a first appearance in this book, Tales of the Jedi, The Sith War number 6, way back in 1996.
Yeah, and this is a good book. Overlooked, and you should check your dollar bins because I've picked 3 or 4 copies of this up for $1 all day long. People just don't pay attention to the Tales of the Jedi, and there's another golden one, and there's a couple of them, and they're just, you can find them at decent prices. Now, with that said, this was a couple years ago before everything in Star Wars spiked, but you should still be able to find this book relatively easy, and should be able to find this book relatively often for a good price.
Yeah, it hasn't shown up on a ton of lists yet. You know, it hasn't become a list book quite yet. And if they do break his story up into those sections, you know, this face-off might be the final battle, or one of the final battles of that first section, you know, the first feature or the first season of him as a Jedi. So his antagonists are going to be important to hunt down too.
Yep. And again, this, like you were saying, this is a very important part of the that Mandalorian war. So again, it's hard to read the minds of a boardroom at Disney. If they were to go a certain direction, especially Mandalorian, like they are, because they're pretty Mandalorian heavy, you're looking at a pretty key book right here. Pretty big issue down the road.
I feel like I've thumbed through and seen this book before. So.
Yeah, almost but guarantee you did.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Canderous Ordo, did I say it right? Canderous Ordo is his last name. Canderous?
Canderous, yeah.
I think it's Canderous. He's another big one that he's intertwined and interweaved with Revan, and he's got no comic appearances. And he's another giant Mandalorian that has to do with that war, just like this. So, and he's in two, let me see, Insider 80, 86, and 127. And that's it. And it's not gravely detailed in those.
Yeah, I don't remember if I included Canderous in this one or not. I know I ran across him though.
But probably not, because he's not in a single comic book.
Right.
It's just one of those names you're going to hear a lot and be like, well, why didn't they talk about this guy? Well, because he's not in a comic. He's a great guy. I think that they could do a lot with him. Give us a new book.
All right. So HK41, again, this is just like Solo was talking about with Canderous. He does not have a comic appearance yet. But this is going to be a fan favorite droid. You know, we talk about the murder droids for Dr. Aphra, but that's a protocol and and is it a R2 unit? The other one?
Yeah.
For Dr. Aphra, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, where this one is a hunter-killer assassin droid. It's built by Revan. Obviously, this would be in the second part of his story when he's become a Sith. He uses it to help him hunt down Jedi. And this is a major character. It does show up in the MMO, Star Wars The Old Republic. You can actually earn HK41 to be your companion within the game. So,
and HK actually stands for hunt and killer. I think it's hunt and killer 41.
Something like that.
I don't know if you guys knew that. It's something in killer, but hunt. I'm almost positive it's hunt and killer.
I think hunting or killer, hunter killer, something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Which is kind of neat.
Yeah. So keep your eyes open. If we start getting Old Republic, you know, again, these shows or movies that we're getting are going to jump back and forth in time. If he shows up in a book, that's a good one to pick up. So from here on out, a lot of my knowledge comes from, I think you went forward to, Aaron, if you could jump back one. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're good. The Star Wars The Old Republic, that video game I mentioned, the MMO, that taps into the last part of his story. This is after he's died, and he has basically a religion that follows him, and then his spirit comes back. And in this story, in this arc, he becomes so powerful that the Jedi and the Sith have to team up to take him down, which, if you're doing a trilogy or you're doing multiple seasons, this part, in my mind, would be so epic to see something so big that the Jedi and the Sith have to actually join forces. And to see that on screen, I think would be mind-blowing. So I did want to pick apart a lot of the characters that were part of that story. Again, I'm a little bit more familiar with that part. And it references a lot of these books. Star Wars, The Old Republic, which was not the last series by Dark Horse, but one of the last. Came out in 2010, 2011. They were the precursor, the prelude, telling the story before the MMO was released. So they hired a writer. He was the writer for the video game and also for these books. There were 2 series, although the series had different chapters to them, so there's a few different titles. But a lot of these first appearances for this final chapter of Revan characters showed up in these runs of Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah, and I'm glad that these are your strong suit, because this is where my weakest point comes in. And I know a lot less about these, but I agree. I think that this is the portion. I think you build it up with that first arc and the whole Mandalorian tie-in, and this year this is your packing the punch. This is Anakin getting evil right here, and then you show something epic like Jedi and Sith battling together to try and take down a big bad, because an enemy of an enemy is my friend. That says something right there. That gives clout to how powerful he can be.
Yeah, I think that kind of final chapter would be just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And the character, you see him in the lower book. His name is Darth Mar. I'm calling those feature covers. That's his first cover, first feature cover. His first appearance is in the book above, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Blood of the Empire, #1. And he is the Sith section. He is the Sith part of that team up of the Sith and the Jedi working together. His look is badass. He honestly kind of looks like Revan. One of the guys, a good friend of mine, Adam from Strange Tales to Collect, and now he's doing a lot of Whatnot stuff. We've been talking about. I really wanted him to be part of this show because there's a lot of Revan fans. Okay, Adam's son is named Revan. That's how big a fan he is.
That's some epic next level stuff.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that he couldn't join us tonight. If we do another one of these, I definitely want to try to pull him in.
That'd be great.
But we talked about that feature cover book. We honestly, for a long time, we thought that was Revan. He's got these shoulder spikes, but the mask looked very much like Darth Revan. It wasn't until quite a bit later that we realized, no, that's actually this Darth Mar character. And these books have started to spike a little bit. A year ago, all of this whole series could be had for $5 to $10. Some of these people have started chasing. Both of these books are probably $60 to $80 raw now. There aren't a lot of graded copies out there, but absolutely the kind you might find in a long box, in a local comic shop.
I've honestly never seen any of this run in the wild. I've never come across it. Now, granted, I wasn't deep diving or looking that hard for it. Every time I go to a shop, I dig through the Star Wars box. I've never come across it.
Right. And I think part of that is comic shops, this is it's a Star Wars book, but it's also a video game property. Yeah. You saw that with Marvel. They did that series for the Fallen Order. I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe they're just not as familiar with them. It doesn't have any of the, it's not a picture of R2 on the front. They're just not quite as heavily ordered as a lot of Star Wars books are.
That brings up a good point. I hadn't really thought about or considered. There was a lot of people that played the video games that picked up the comics. Boy, that's double jeopardy right there. If you got gamers and Star Wars guys and comic book guys, now you're in triple jeopardy right there. All collecting the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic. It would explain why so many of these books are not only valuable but harder to find.
Yeah, especially, we talked about the newsstand earlier. This is very near the end of the newsstand, so if you can find newsstands of these, hold on to them tight.
Yeah, hoard them like a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. I think we've got some more of these Old Republic characters. Yeah, Satil Shan. I don't know if is it Shan or Sean?
I think it's Sean.
Sean, okay.
Satil Sean.
All right.
That's how I've heard it pronounced.
I'll get it right.
Star Wars, it could be right, it could be wrong.
If I'm wrong, I'll just blame it on you. So it's all good.
I'm okay with that.
Just say it like you know
I've been wrong before.
Just say it like you know it, and no one else will know you're wrong.
Exactly.
That's right.
Shan. Yeah. So Satil Shan is a descendant of Revan, obviously from the same line as Bastilla Shan. She is a big character in that MMO game. She is the Grandmaster Jedi Knight in that series, and she is the Jedi side of that Sith Jedi team up to take down Revan. She shows up in the very first issue of this Star Wars The Old Republic run, which is called Thread of Peace. Number 1, you have the cover A is with the brown robed figure, and you see Satil in the back. There was a ratio variant, a 1 in, I think it was a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 5 or a 1 in 10. And that's the one in the bottom center. And then there's also on all the way on the right side there, the year before at San Diego Comic-Con, there was a mini chromium comic book of Thread of Peace that was released. Again, it's a promotion, but it's the same book. It's the same appearances. So if you really want to break it down, that would probably be her first true appearance and any of the other characters that were also introduced in this book.
And again, I'm glad you know more than I do on these. This is not my wheelhouse.
Well, I know these because I've been chasing them for a while, and they're really hard to find. That chromium is about probably a $200 to $400 book.
Yeah, and it's not one you find.
Yeah, a lot of them were signed. You'll find copies that are signed on the front cover or even signed on the interior. They're chromium. They're hard to get in perfect condition. But all of these books have popped. That first appearance is probably a $40, $50 book. The Attic, the ratio variant, is probably a $100 book right now.
I believe it. Yeah.
All right. Who else do we have? Theron Shan. Theron is also in this final showdown, taking down Revan. Theron is Satil's son. They expect him to be a Jedi, but he ends up not being Force sensitive, and he becomes a Republic spy. So he's more on the like Cassian Andor kind of assassin spy kind of character. And his first appearance is in the second series of this Star Wars: The Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic: The Lost Sons, number 1. And he shows up on the cover for the first time in number 3.
I think we could eventually see Tar Vizsla in a comic, but I think they're going to have to... Things have flip-flopped in my mind, or they're starting to. If they go back and start telling more of the Mandalorian stories, then they might progress forward with more Mandalorian style comic books, and that's when we'd probably see more of Tara Vizsla. To answer your question, James.
And I think we have one of the Vizslas on the list here, if I remember correctly. All right, Aaron, who do we got next? Oh yeah, right here, Shay. So Shay Vizsla is also in this final showdown to take down Revan. Again, to make it even more epic, not just the Jedi and the Sith teaming up, but the Mandalorians as well. She was Mandalore the Avenger, and I wasn't sure on this, so I don't believe she's appeared in comics. Are you aware of any?
I am not aware of any. I think she is again in Insider.
Sure.
I'm almost positive she's in an Insider. I don't remember which number. And I think that's it. I am unaware of any comic book appearance. Please correct us if we're wrong, chat. You guys are the bomb. You guys all have Google. You guys know better than we do half of the time. And please come in and correct us if we're wrong, but I'm almost positive there's none.
Yeah, speaking of, I've seen some great comments already, things that either pointing out things that we may have gotten wrong or other topics. I'll definitely dig into that info. Wikipedia is kind of the main big resource, but it's not perfect either. So,
and there's another site that is getting started, drunkenwookie.com, and he is starting very much a platform a lot like Wikipedia. Great guy. Follow him on Instagram too. Another great channel to find books and stuff and talk about Star Wars and the books. But he is starting a Wikipedia style channel, and he wants people's input too. He wants to talk to you. He wants to find out more. He wants to build the most, group comprehensive, channel, not channel, but page, for Star Wars information. So,
yep.
Again, we all learn more helping each other, because this is Star Wars universe, and nobody understands this timeline. If they tell you they do, they're lying, because nobody gets it. It's impossible.
Well, since we mentioned it, Solo, it might be good. Again, I want to jump back to some of those viewers who maybe aren't, haven't been doing this a long time. There are resources that a lot of people use. A lot of people use the CGC census. A lot of people use Comicron to try to get an estimate on how many issues there might be out there. A lot of people use even a website like Midtown, because it'll say exactly what week, exactly what day a comic was released, not the date on the comic, but what week it showed up in shops. Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, but Wikipedia. It's useful for getting the biography. And if you dig enough, you can find comic first appearances there. They rank all appearances. They talk about appearances in movies and novels and video games, but they do put those appearances in chronological order. So if you go to a character like Shay Vizsla, it'll list all of her appearances at the bottom of that section. You can go down the list from the top and down. You'll see, you might see a video game, cartoon,
novel,
and if she has a comic,
audiobook,
novel, But if the first one you run into that is a comic, that would be the one to flag. Here's my quotes again, for her first comic appearance, because us comic collectors, that's one of the important books to find. Is not a lot of comic collectors go out and buy the novels, and we don't
not always, but most of the time when I look on there, it has in parentheses, it'll say comic book first appearance, or it'll be noted on there somewhere, comic book first appearance.
Yeah, it's that, and that's awesome if it does.
But most of the time it does. Not always, but most always.
Yeah. Characters outside of Star Wars are much easier, because if you go to whatever fandom, Hulkling fandom, you get the biography for Hulkling, and then it says very clearly first appearance, and that says the comic book they showed up in. Star Wars requires sometimes a little bit more digging to get that info.
I'm just impressed with how many Wookiees there are, like working on the internet, doing all kinds of stuff.
We had a whole planet, all right.
Makes sense. Now you got to take over the internet. Gotcha.
Speaking of Wookiees,
Wookiee Vision 2021, folks. Wookiee Vision.
I think that's a good segue, if I'm guessing, to the next one. Oh no, I'm sorry, I messed it up. It was a bad segue.
We tried.
This is just another character that shows up in that final showdown. No comic appearances yet. Another character on the Sith side of things. Lana Beniko appeared in video games, but again, just keep an eye or remember these names, the ones that haven't had comic appearances. If they get mentioned as showing up in a storyline, that would be the first appearance. So grab them then.
Yeah, if you hear these names and you start seeing stuff drop, and here we are, more Wookiees.
Here's the Wookiee.
Doesn't get any better than this.
Jakaro, a Wookiee smuggler, was also part of that final face-off with Revan, and again, no comic appearances yet.
Hey, Lord of Brooklyn. We mainly talk about some of these books, not so you can just like go pick them up online, but if you're out digging, like at conventions, your LCS, wherever, like to be on the lookout for them.
Yep. You got to give credit to eBay sellers. They are some of the first people to pick up on first appearances. If something is released the next day, every listing has first so and so, and that book, quintupled in price. So you can find those books here. And you're right, Lord. The first Darth Mar, the first Satchel Shan, the first Theron Shan. Those books have already, they're definitely above cover price. But eBay isn't the only place you're going to find them.
Yeah. Okay, this is Star Wars. The tide has turned in Star Wars. Star Wars was undervalued for a lot of years. A lot of years. Now Star Wars, especially with Disney Plus and all the TV shows coming out, people are really starting to get into more of the new expanded universe. I guess you can't really call it that anymore, or you're not supposed to, but I don't care, so I will. And as that EU is exploding again, people are back in that mindset. If it says Star Wars, I can buy it for this price and sell it for double. 90% of the time they're wrong, but it makes it hard to go find anything, and the prices start inflating rapidly. It'll die down again. We go through phases.
Yeah, it's definitely a pendulum.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to go quite as low as what it used to be.
It won't go as low as it once was, but
yeah,
we'll see it come down and plateau for a little bit, and then it'll spike back up and plateau for a little bit.
Right. The waves are going to, graduate. It's still but yeah, it's still going up, right? Yeah. But it's still still going to have its valleys. Yeah. I mean, I remember picking up a lot of the key books that people are looking for currently, right? Star Wars 1. I got a 9.6 for $100. Yeah. I think I bought a 68 for less than 100 as well. And y'all would just get sick of how much I paid for Afro. So we'll move on.
But yeah,
and good on you. I love hearing those stories. I love hearing that someone got a deal, that someone found a book. I love hearing I went out digging and I found a book. Me and the guys, we went out to London. I got to go out with Kyle and Brian, over the weekend, Saturday. Met up with some another comic creator. Illustrated Illuminati was there. Great to finally meet him face to face. got to meet Wanted Comics for the first time face to face. I've talked to him several times. It gave me that old feeling like digging through the long boxes, just group of guys sitting out talking about Star Wars, talking about comics, talking about it. It really jazzed me again. It felt really, really good. Same thing with going out and hunting comics and finding them, or same thing, when you're talking to your buddies and you hear, oh, hey, I found that book last week for like, $4.99. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you did, dude. Congratulations. That's awesome. I love hearing about people finding Star Wars books for a good price. It's still, it jazzes me.
It'd be fun if for you viewers, if you find some of these books we've talked about today, or even in the other videos you see, post it on Instagram. Do a little hashtag Tales from the Flip Side. I'd love to see your finds out there.
Yeah, hit us up on Instagram and everything, and mine is at Solo Wookie. You can find and absolutely on Tales from the Flip Side. Give us a shout out, just like Tony said. Tell us, hey, thanks for the hint. Was digging through the long box. I found this. You guys rock, whatever. Or hey, you guys suck. I found this on my own. Wait, as long as you got a good deal, tell us about it. We'd love to hear it.
Right.
What's up, Half Price Crook? Long time no see.
Half Price. What's going on, man?
Well, and it looks like
big digger.
Ooh, James Lynn found 2 times Star Wars Darth Maul #2 AHA variants for $15 each.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
or total, which either or. It sounds like a good deal to me.
It doesn't matter. 15 is. I'd pay 15 a piece and be happy.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is that the last one?
I love it.
Aaron, is there more than that, or is that it?
I think there was one more, right? Oh, and more.
Okay.
Oh, this is it, I think.
Just
all right. Well, there are so many. Again, there's more characters in that first era of him being a Jedi. We really barely touched on his time as a Sith, and then when he was turned back to the Jedi. There's so many more characters to talk about. I think I hope you guys can help out. It'd be awesome. I think we should do a follow-up with more of those characters and find their books.
And more of the toys. There's some crazy toys out there that while we started looking, and I stumbled across one I didn't know existed, and I was like, wow, that's pricey.
I know.
Lego figure.
I know I sent a link to Tony at one point in time where I was like, hey, have you seen this Revan figure? Because like I had heard him talk about Revan at some point in time. And then he's like, oh, you know how to spend my money or something like that. I think was the comment.
Yeah, no, yeah, I picked up. It was one. I think that was the most recent Black Series figure they had.
Yeah,
I want to say he's got 4 figures. He's got a lightsaber. Does he have a mask yet? I know they've been doing the masks. I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen one in production. It doesn't mean that it's not out there.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, especially with like how much Hasbro's been doing. Like with all the different masks and stuff like that. Because I mean, like what they even had the prototype helmet for Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Has Malak had a figure yet?
Yes, I think there's.
Did they do a 2-pack?
Are you talking about the
Darth Malak?
So, okay, so not the same as the Star Killer from Force Unleashed, right? Because his name's Malak too, right? Or it's spelled differently.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because I know they did a 3 3/4 for the Force Unleashed one, right?
Okay.
And then they did the they did another 6-inch one where it's not the Black Series, but it was like something that was in between that. I can't remember.
So they do have Darth Revan masks. But they are all looks like individually made. Lots of Etsy store stuff. Custom. So people making them themselves. It's not like a mass product of any type or sort.
Yeah, I mean, you're at a good con when you see at least one Revan cosplay.
Yeah, you know that guy's a nerd. As soon as you see him, it's just like, hey, you know that Solo Wookiee, don't you, loser? You guys
coming.
just hang out and talk Star Wars. You guys are lame.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to. We could honestly sit and talk about Star Wars for probably 12 hours if we didn't have
Or 47 years
lives to live. But yeah, I guess we'll thank you guys for helping out. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Sol. I really appreciate you stopping.
Yeah, it's fun.
Taking some time out.
You guys, if you guys have any questions, comments you want us to look into or check out, or let us know, and we'll try and dive into some stuff for you. Or maybe you want to hear something other Star Wars. Doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah,
give us a shout. Look,
yeah. If you're watching on the rewind, leave comments so we can check them afterwards and stuff like that. I'm sure we plan to do more episodes like this. So we'll see just when we can get the full band together and all that.
Grow out some more characters. We
more characters.
Definitely dig in some more
Revan
characters.
Toys.
And we could do something talking about what the best way to introduce them. What storylines to get into. There's a lot to dig into.
Yeah, I know there was quite a few people that couldn't make it tonight that wanted to join in this discussion as well. So I told them that we were probably more than likely going to do a part 2 or part 3 or however many episodes we really want to do on this. But yeah,
more juicy characters out there.
Yeah,
and maybe we'll do a breakdown on one character per show at some point and get a little more detailed on them. We don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. But that's the fun of it. It's just hanging out and talking.
Exactly. And so
information.
Yeah, and make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our push notifications, because where else are you going to get this great information from, right? I'm sure there's a billion other channels to choose from, but we're glad you hung out with us. All right. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.